It's the Seconds Football Podcast. Today is Saturday, November 19th. I am Nick Testoni, your host. As always, Joe Brider is still out, but I brought back... Go ahead and do your little spiel.
Statman.
That's right. The Statman Sam Smith is back. We're here to talk about Week 11, recap a little Thursday Night Football. I gave you a little homework assignment last time. You'll give us a little stat. I don't even know what to call it. A little research project you did?
Stat blast.
Okay, a stat blast. So we're prepared for that. Before we get into all that, though, let's hit the news. All right, Brandon Cook's wrist did not practice on Wednesday. He played last week. I'm assuming he's playing. It's a weird situation that's going on there where it kind of feels like he just doesn't want to play.
Brandon Cooks. He's already said he didn't want to be there. He was pissed that he didn't get traded at the deadline. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's just trying to find a way not to play like NBA players do, find an injury.
Well, he did play last week. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird situation because the upside really hasn't been there, even though he's the main target. Nico Collins has been pretty good, and I just wonder how much longer they'll keep this up, because it doesn't make any sense. I've said this before. It doesn't make any sense for Houston to cut him because they're just paying his salary. He's owed, I think, around like $18 million, because I think he signed an extension this past offseason for 2 more years.
He did.
So it doesn't really make any sense. Maybe they'll try to trade him in the offseason. I think that's probably the best thing. But he's not going to give up. He's not going to say, you can release me and you can keep the money. He's not going to like agree to the contract, like to just cancel it. And they're not going to cut him and give him his release and pay him to play on another team. So it's a very interesting situation. I think he'll play. I really don't know what his upside is for the rest of the season. Devontae Adams, abdomen, limited Wednesday. I think he'll be fine to play. Cooper Kupp went on IR, had the surgery for a high ankle sprain. Not good.
That's going to completely change what this offense is now. Like Cooper Kupp, he's gotten 30-something% of the targets. He's been that whole offense, their whole game plan for the past 2 years now. So it's going to be interesting to see what Sean McVay comes up with.
And fantasy-wise, I guess Higbee has been the only other guy who's been really usable. I mean, Allen Robinson hasn't been. None of the running backs have been. I mean, Van Jefferson came back, but I really don't think he's... Hey, I think it's kind of a lost season for the Rams, and to be quite honest, I don't really know. Like, I don't think Stafford you can play right now. I mean, you already couldn't,
No.
but now that Kupp's gone, I know he's coming back. It's a really... You would assume someone would emerge to be maybe one of the running backs, to be at least fantasy usable, but it might not be. It might be just a fantasy wasteland my thing is, a lot of people scramble to pick up Allen Robinson. I really don't see Allen Robinson as a fix here.
No, like he wasn't even like really getting open in the early part of the season. Matt Stafford, not that he wasn't part of the game plan. Matt Stafford just didn't want to throw to him because he wasn't getting open, didn't have the chemistry. So I don't know how much that changed in the past 8 or so weeks, but it doesn't really look like it has.
Ezekiel Elliott, his knee was limited on Wednesday. I think he'll play. It's been, I think, 3 weeks for Zeke, if you count the bye. I know Tony Pollard's looked good, but they're obviously paying Zeke to be their main guy. He's going to be out there. Jerry Jones likes him. I'll just also say some other guys are out. Jamar Chase is out. He has not practiced since the hip injury. Juju's out, which is pretty big. It'll lead to something later. David Njoku did not practice on Wednesday, which is weird because I think people thought he was going to play last week, and he ended up not playing at all. Dallas Goedert moved IR. I think we said last episode that he was going to miss a few weeks. We already talked about the Eno Benjamin news. The Cardinals did open up the practice window for Marquise Brown, and there was, I don't know if you saw the film of him. He was out there doing some ladder drills and doing some individual drills. So Marquise Brown may be returning soon for the Cardinals.
I mean, yeah, that'll be big for them after Ertz, who he's been getting a lot of targets every single game. So, and he's out for the season. So it'll be good for them to get Hollywood back.
Just looking at some other stuff here. Josh Allen was limited all week, expected to play, has no designation. For the Ravens, I saw that Mark Andrews is a game time decision. I think he's going to go test out the shoulder.
Yeah, and I saw Lamar miss today with an illness.
Yeah, he
Did
was
not
full all
practice.
week, just didn't practice today, but they expect him to play against the Panthers. Yeah, Andrews is a wait until Sunday to decide. And Gus Edwards was limited in practice today. I think they were expecting to get him back. So very interesting to see how the running back room comes together because Drake was really good in the absence of Gus, but you'd think it'll just kind of be like kind of a three-man, well, maybe two, where they sprinkle in Justice Hill for maybe 4 or 5 carries throughout the game.
Yeah, I feel like Justice Hill will get some work out of the passing game too.
And I don't think we're too far off, maybe 3 weeks away from J.K. Dobbins returning. So that'll really complicate the Baltimore backfield.
Yeah, a lot of names back there.
And then lastly, Cliff Kingsbury said that DeAndre Hopkins' hamstring is a maintenance deal and isn't nearly the issue it was last year. And it sounds positive for him to play. They are on the Monday night game. So that is the news, unless you got something to say about Hopkins.
No, I'm not too worried about that. It just kind of seemed like a rest day.
Yeah, so that's the news. Last time that we were on here, I wanted to know, I gave the stat man, what is DeAndre Swift's, like, what is he scoring per touch? Because it seems like he gets like a good amount of points out of just like 5 touches a week. So I'll let the stat man take his very first segment with the stat blast.
So I actually did several of the running backs in the top 10. So I'll list off some of those first. Josh Jacobs is getting 0.98 points per touch. Joe Mixon is 0.92. Nick Chubb is 1.07. CMC is 1.06. Austin Eckler is the highest in the top 10 at 1.25 points per touch. But then DeAndre Swift is 1.44.
That's
So he
unbelievable.
scored 82 points on 57 touches. And Najee on the season has scored 98 points on 152 touches. So Najee scored only 16 more points than DeAndre Swift off of 95 more touches.
I see you brought Najee back into the fold, even though this was a Swift
I
oriented
mean, yeah, it's
stat
just
blast.
impressive what Swift has done. Like every single time he's got the ball, he's really efficient. Jamal Williams is a 0.89. So
Volume based.
yeah, really. Like Jamal Williams has 151 touches, DeAndre Swift 57. So they're just feeding Jamal Williams the ball.
So would you say that DeAndre Swift is a good athlete?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just Dan Campbell just doesn't like him. Maybe he thinks he's soft.
And what would you say about the athletic ability for, I don't know, maybe someone like Najee Harris?
I mean, when you're getting that many touches and the points just aren't coming, like that's a big sign for a bad athlete. And it's not good when he's supposed to be a bell cow back.
And finally, I'll end this with, who do you think should be the starting running back in Pittsburgh?
I think it should be Jalen Warren because he's gotten 0.94 points per touch
Oh,
against
oh, so you
Najee's
got him.
0.65.
And where did Jalen Warren go to college?
I don't know.
Okay, well then
Pitt?
that,
Did he go to Pitt? No, that was James Conner went to Pitt.
yeah. I said he beat cancer too. Got to account for that.
Oh, yeah, good for him. Yeah, that's another check mark next to him.
But Najee Harris did not beat cancer.
Bad athlete.
But he is alive. He actually never had it. All right. That was the stat blast. Let's get into our starts and sits of the week. So Joey's not here, but he sent in his starts and sits. For young Joseph, Gus Edwards is his start. He says the backup plan of Drake if Edwards is out. So he's going with the whoever's in first in line in Baltimore. He's assuming if Gus plays, it'll be Gus. If Gus is out, he thinks Kenyon Drake is a good start. They are playing the Carolina Panthers. He also has T. Higgins, wide receiver for the Bengals. Shockingly enough, he has T. Higgins. And he says the Steelers have been bleeding points to fantasy wide receivers, and he's due for a breakout game. Okay. His sit of the week is Amari Cooper. He's been bad every game, um, every away game, and like I've said, he said check his weeklies, which we've talked about. He also said plus no. We should have mentioned in the news that that game is no longer being played in Buffalo. The Cleveland and Buffalo game has been moved to Detroit, so no weather whatsoever to deal with.
I think that now means the Detroit Lions are the second best home team to play at Ford Field this year, making the Buffalo Bills the best.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here's something I was thinking about because I have Amari Cooper and you have Amari Cooper in this league. He has been bad. I don't know why, but he's been bad in a lot of away games. Does it change even in like good matchups? Like Miami was a good matchup last week, couldn't do anything. Does it change your viewpoint that he's playing his away game not at the home team's stadium?
Yeah, I think it really helps mainly because it's the Bills. They have one of the best home environments in the NFL. And also it's going to be an indoor stadium.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna help, but I don't know. I'm not expecting too much out of Amari Cooper. Maybe probably expecting more out of Donovan Peoples Jones.
See, I hate that because I'm on the fence about starting him. I'll when we go through the Sunday preview, I'll go through some names. Who would you rather start over Amari Cooper? My start of the week is Kadarius Toney. Juju's out. McCole Hardman's on IR. MVS really was phased out. I'm sure he'll be out there due to necessity, but Kadarius Toney, who has only seen his production go up since coming to Kansas City, I think he only ran about 21 routes last week, and he had 4 or 5 targets. I think 4 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. He looked good. They're going to need him, and I think the more he gets, more routes he runs, more snaps he plays, he becomes a bigger part of this offense. They have a great matchup against the Chargers, whose defense has been terrible all year. And I think Kadarius Toney is a smash play this week. I'll be starting him in my flex. And then my sit is Deontay Foreman. I think so. I have him. Yeah, this is really shows a lot about character. How Joe puts his players in a start, and yeah, I did this week too. Fine, but it's a good play. But I also put my players in sits when I realize it. Deontay Foreman, I think he'll get enough touches, but I think the Baltimore defense has been very, very good in the last 5 weeks, and they're only getting better. They're coming off a bye week where they're getting a little healthier, and if you take out some of like the I think the New England game and maybe the Miami game, Baltimore's defense has been super impressive this year. And even when they were giving up those points, it was to wide receivers, not really running backs. Um, I think it's going to be a game where they're down a lot. Foreman seems to not be the pass catcher. They bring in Blackshear, they bring in Hubbard. Foreman only had 2 targets, no catches last game where he ran for 130 yards. So he's going to be a guy who mainly runs it. I just don't see a good day for the Panthers. I mean, not to mention Baker's a quarterback. So I don't see a very good offensive output for the Panthers. And with a guy who runs pretty well against a good defense coming off by, Deontay Foreman is my sit of the week.
And I'll stick with that theme because DJ Moore is my sit of the week. I mean, the Ravens have been good covering the number one receivers for teams. Like you can look at the Miami game and like Tyreek had a good game, but it was mainly Jalen Waddle that torched us. So I mean, DJ Moore, especially with Baker coming back, how many weeks has it been since he's played? 4?
Baker, he did play the second half of
Started.
their. Oh, started. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 weeks. I don't know, but they didn't have any chemistry when he was starting. So, yeah, DJ Moore, sit of the week. And I have 2 starts of the week. Rondell Moore, now that Zach Ertz is out, Hollywood, even if he does play, he's probably going to be on a snap count. And the 49ers have given up 21 points per game to slot receivers, but they're only giving up 11.9 points per game to perimeter receivers. So Rondo Moore, I feel like he definitely has an opportunity to score 20 or more points. And also Tyler Boyd, kind of the same reason Joey said. Pittsburgh actually gives up the most points to slot receiver, and Tyler Boyd has the second or third most routes run from the slot position this year. So yeah, Tyler Boyd and Rondo Moore start of the week.
Go put him out there. Let's hit our Thursday night football recap, where the Tennessee Titans defeated the Green Bay Packers 27-17. Um, I think I was on the Titans. I didn't expect to be this high scoring of a game. It turned out to be pretty entertaining. Kind of had one eye on the game. I was back and forth. Derrick Henry, not like 28 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown, not like spectacular. That's a lot of carries, only 87 yards. I thought they did a good job containing him. His one touchdown is when they got down inside the 5 yard line, but he throws two passes, throws a touchdown pass to, I believe, Austin Hooper. And not good for me, as Jackson put up a quick, I think, 25 points to start the week against me. Ryan Tannehill was fine, 22 of 27, 333 yards, two touchdowns, and a pick. And then, Treylon Burks, I think, is the only thing you'd highlight here. And I know Austin Hooper caught two touchdown passes. I don't expect that a lot from really this Tennessee passing game. And like I said, it's not a passing attack that you really want any parts of. I think the only person who was worth stashing was Treylon Burks, who was coming off an injury. And he had kind of his breakout game was 7 for 111. Any thoughts on Burks going forward?
I mean, I kind of expected more out of him coming into the season because 6'2", 220 was he was Titans first round pick and he runs a four
Yeah,
four.
supposed to be
So
AJ Brown's replacement,
yeah, that was the whole plan, but
but he's got asthma.
hasn't yeah, hasn't worked out well. And yeah, with Tannehill, I mean, you don't even know who the best quarterback on the team is. And it's between Tannehill and Derrick Henry, not even Malik Willis. So you don't really want anyone in any receivers in the passing game. I mean, Derrick Henry actually had a 42-yard reception, so that helped him fantasy wise. But for consistency, you definitely don't want any receivers.
You wouldn't even want to hold on to Treylon Burks, just stash him because I think he's probably the only guy not named Derrick Henry on this Tennessee roster that you could just stash.
I mean, yeah, if you have a deep enough lineup and you're making the playoffs at this point, yeah, I feel like you could stash them.
But I have no interest in Robert Woods, Westbrook Kine. I mean, none of them. On the Green Bay side, Aaron Jones, quiet day, 12 for 40 on the ground, 6 for 20 in the air. So that's six catches really helped save the baseline. I mean, Rodgers looked okay, 24 for 39, 227, two touchdowns. Here's the thing. You started Christian Watson in your flex, which I thought was really bad fantasy, by the way. If you're going to start a guy
It
on Thursday
was.
Night Football, you start him in your wide receiver spot, not your flex. Um, and then I picked up Christian Watson in my other league, and I had him and Alan Lazard, and I started Lazard and not Watson, which sucked. But Lazard, 557, he was targeted 11 times. There's a couple of miscommunications, had a drop here and there. Didn't kill me. I finished around with 10 points. But Christian Watson now, here, I got a stat for you, actually. I got a stat for you, Statman. Christian Watson, in just, I believe, 12 days, has scored more touchdowns with five than DJ Moore has in a single season in his entire career. DJ Moore has never had more than four touchdowns in an entire season. And in just 12 days, Christian Watson has gone from zero touchdowns to five on this season.
I mean, wow, I didn't even know that about DJ Moore. Kind of expecting more touchdowns out of him, but I mean, Christian Watson, he could be in a sell high moment right now for a redraft league, but if you're in a dynasty league, he's a definitely a great player to have.
Four catches, 48 yards, two touchdowns. I mean, he was good, and he put on another good fantasy performance. It's tough. I haven't thought about selling him just because it doesn't seem like Lazard's been like the reliable guy, but Lazard has never not been a superstar. And is Watson finally breaking through as this guy that could be very fantasy prevalent in an Aaron Rodgers offense, or is it just a good stretch? I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about that right now. I know you had a stat to bring up, or not a stat, but a little receipt you'd like to cash with the another part-time host of this podcast at times, Joe Briner.
I mean, yeah, shout out Joey. Hope you get feeling better. But yeah, beginning of the season, Episode 3 at the draft recap, we both picked a side for which receiver is going to break out. He had Romeo Dobbs. I had Christian Watson. I I got to the point halfway through the season where Romeo Dobbs, I think he had the 2 good games in a row. So we I mean, I texted him. I conceded my pick. I said, all right, looks like Dobbs is the guy. And so last week I texted him back and told him, never mind, I'm back on Watson. I was always on Watson. So
Now, I
yeah,
will
just
say, as of
called
right
that
now,
at the
Romeo
beginning of the season.
Dobbs, just real quick, as of right now, Romeo Dobbs is wide receiver 52 on the year, while uh, Christian Watson, I believe, is 65. So theoretically, it would go to Watson, or
He's
excuse me,
concussed every
Dobbs,
other week.
huh?
Christian Watson's concussed every other week. We just need to get that straightened
Well, the
away.
best ability is availability. So you got to be out there.
All right, get your alliteration out of here.
I don't think that's what that is, but
Oh,
it is
that's
interesting
exactly what
because
that is.
I don't know. I think Dobbs had his chance. He had some drops. The crazy thing is Watson's had a lot of drops, even in these games.
He
But
had
he
a
seems to keep. He granted he was the higher draft pick. He was. I think a lot of people thought the Packers would try to draft someone in the first round. They didn't. They traded up in the second round to get this guy out of North Dakota State. He's been hurt a lot, but man, does it feel like maybe he's the guy? I think I would consider trading him high. To be honest, the more I think about it now, just because it looks like Green Bay. I mean, they lost this game and now 4-7. What really is the I mean, what are you looking forward to for Green Bay for the rest of the year? They could just shut this down, to be honest, because it's clearly a lost season for the Packers. They're 4-7, like I said, but the division leading team is 8-1. So they're clearly just chasing wild cards at this point. And by the way, the NFC East is all better. All 4 teams have a much better record than the Packers. So where do you see the Packers finishing up this year?
I I don't even think Aaron Rodgers played that well last night. He was definitely missed a couple passes, a couple wide open passes, one to Sammy Watkins there in the fourth quarter, crossing over the middle, and that would have really helped him in their drive. But like if he continues that play, and I'm not a big Rodgers guy, he just hasn't had a good season and doesn't seem like he's big into this team. It seems like he's being forced to play. So it feels like if the Packers continue on this trajectory, then it's gonna it's just not gonna change.
So
So you don't
I
want to
have
hold much stock in Packers players.
so here's my thing though. This is their schedule rest of the way. You got Philly next week. Not a great matchup. After that, though, you got Chicago, which is late buy. They have the week 13 buy. So I actually don't mind selling now. You could even tell the person you got that Chicago team coming up. And then they have Rams, Dolphins, Minnesota, Detroit. Obviously, some of that is after fantasy season, but after the bye, Rams, that's like a middle of the pack, but Miami's a good matchup. Minnesota's an okay matchup, but again, I don't know what this Packers team like. They could easily in that stretch they could go 2-5 the rest of the way out, or how many games there are left. Two and
And I
four. They go
think,
2-4 the rest of the way and finish 6-11.
do you have that thought just because it's Aaron Rodgers being quarterback?
No, I like Aaron Rodgers. I just don't think this team is good.
No, like do you have the thought of how they can turn it around at any moment
No,
and
not
go on a
this year.
run because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback?
Not this year. I do not.
Yeah, see,
Because I don't think their defense is that great. I mean, it's okay, but like I don't. They're not stopping people. There's nothing. There's not a single side of the football that they really are good at. I think they're a very below average team all the way around. They've got talent. I still think they play well together.
the offensive line is injured. They have 2 really good running backs coming into the season. There were
Do
like
they?
a
But do
possibility
they?
that
Like,
both
is AJ
running
Dillon
backs
a good running back? Because I know people say it all the time, but what does AJ Dillon really do? Let's take a look at his 6 carries for 13 yards.
he scored well decently last year.
But that's last year.
Yeah, like so coming into the season, there like it was possible
Is
that
AJ Dillon
the
like Najee
Packers.
Harris?
Ooh, yeah, he may be a bad athlete.
I mean, he's got a
He
bad
may be. I don't
hairline.
want to say he is.
Okay.
He has the quads of a good athlete, but
Quadzilla, but I know plenty of people who lift who are not good athletes.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, and the only reason he's even fantasy relevant is because of his receptions every game. Like it's not even that
I
he's
mean, he'll
rushing the
have
ball
big
that great.
breakout games, but it's not like Aaron Jones is constantly running the football for a ton of yards. Like, I mean, like I said, 12 for 40, but really the six catches. I mean, there's only six catches for 20 yards. The six catches are where you got your points. I mean, that's where you got the most points. What do you end with 12-ish points?
I mean, I was happy playing against him this week.
So was I. I played against him in 2 leagues and I was very okay. Him and Lazard go up against each other. I think I'm trailing by 1 point after Thursday Night Football. And I didn't think Lazard had a good game. I think my thing is who, if you had to pick one of the three wide receivers, this is, we'll end it with this. If you had to pick one of the three wide receivers the rest of the way, Watson, Lazard, and Dobbs, who do you want?
I'll get rid of Dobbs. It'll be between Lazard and Watson. I mean, I guess I'd do Christian Watson because I feel like the only reason, I
The
mean, it's
ceiling's higher?
biased because he's on my team, but
Okay.
I feel like the reason he wasn't utilized much in the beginning of the season is because he had two big drops against the Vikings. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, so it was the first play of the season, and obviously
Yeah.
he got injured. You
And
know,
so like that really, so that's why it wasn't used that much beginning of the season, in and out of concussions. And so like, I guess if he stays healthy, I'd definitely take Watson.
I think I have both of them in one league. I think I'll stick with Lazard. I know the ceiling's higher, but if I
He's
came
proven
to it, like
himself.
I would trade Watson and keep Lazard. I just think Lazard. Who's to say Christian? Not anyone can get hurt, but who's to say that Christian Watson? He is a rookie. Who's to say he does nothing for the next 3 weeks? I can't see. Like, would you be shocked if Christian Watson was a goose next week? I wouldn't. I'd be shocked if Alan Lazard was.
I mean, against the Eagles, I feel like the Packers are gonna play down. The Eagles are gonna be at
Well,
least
forget the
10-point
matchup. I'm just
favorites.
saying, like, from pure player thing, because this is really only 2 weeks of Christian Watson. We're really diving
I
into
think
this.
he's a good receiver. I think he has great tools. He's athletic. I think he's just a good receiver, and he's only going to get better the more chemistry he has with Aaron Rodgers. But I understand this is a great sell high point for him right now. 5 touchdowns in the past 2 games. It looks like he's breaking out at this moment. So, yeah, it's still great to sell high on him.
Yeah, I mean, kind of wish maybe we had Joe here give his thoughts on it.
But also, Matt LaFleur, wasn't he the offensive coordinator for the Titans?
Yeah,
They had the 28th, 29 rate offense when LaFleur got hired by the Packers. So it hasn't even been proven that Matt LaFleur is a good coach. He just has Aaron Rodgers and he had Devontae Adams like as soon as he got the job.
do you think Mike Vrabel's a good coach? Because everyone seems to think he is, and
He's a good players coach. People want to play for him, and I think that helps. That helps the team buy in and everything to what you want to do. But I also think it helps when you have a 6'3", 230-pound monster that can run a 4.4 as your running back.
yeah, interesting game. The Texans are, excuse me, the Titans obviously won. They're 7-3, which is just like every year they do this, and it's like, does anyone really think the Titans are like a serious threat in the playoffs?
Like they're
Because if you
one
make
of
Ryan Tannehill beat you, it's not going to happen.
no, like I mean he beat the Ravens in the one year
That
in
was
the
a while ago.
playoffs.
That was a while ago. Anyways, let's get
Ravens were the one
into
seed,
let's get into our
home field advantage.
okay. Thank you. I was at the game. You know that.
No,
I was at the
just
game. I was at the Chargers playoff game the year before as well.
I was upset on my couch both times.
Let's get into our fantasy matchup preview for this week. I'll run through this real quick. I 3-7. Nick Testoni, LaFamilia Testoni, fighting out of the basement, playing the best team in the league, Milk with Ice, Brian Brooks and Jackson Edelman, who's 9-1. Derrick Henry already put up 25 points on Thursday night. But right now, the projection is not too good for me. I'm kind of hoping Kadarius Toney, they're kind of shortchanging him in the projection margin, but pick a player or two from each side who you think is the big swing for this matchup.
I mean, now that Dallas Goddard's out, I can definitely see AJ Brown popping off against the Colts. I think the
It's a good
Eagles are,
defense.
I think they're 6.5, 7 point favorites, but with Stephon Gilmore, I don't. Who's the other cornerback there in Indianapolis?
Oh my God, I this question came with
Yeah,
the other. I
yeah.
could never think of
Stephon,
it.
like somebody's whoever is there's going to be a receiver open, and there's going to be a receiver wanting to be
Well, it
targeted,
seems like every
especially
year
with
it's
Goddard out.
or every week it's either a Devonta Smith game or an AJ Brown. It doesn't necessarily feel like either of them maybe both have 15. It's usually one has somewhere between 5 and 7, and the other one has like a 20-point game.
Yep. And other side, Jackson's team, Tyler Boyd, he was my start of the week. So that's it's rough going up against.
Okay. Let's go to the 4-6 squeegee boys. Bryce Fobel against Andrew Atkins, not second place victory lap. Uh, two teams fighting for playoffs here. Bryce 4-6, like I said, and then 5-5, Andrew Atkins. Projection right now is within 0.5, so it's pretty much a pick 'em. We had a defender, a linebacker for Tennessee get 9 points for Bryce, so it's 9-0 currently. But right now, who are you looking at right now as the impact players?
I mean, I'd honestly love for them to tie because I think I'm also fighting
Never
for
a
a
tie
playoff
in league
spot,
history, by the way.
and I'd be okay if this was the first. But it's interesting. Bryce starting two tight ends right now, but Tyler Higbee, I feel like he's going to get a lot of targets now that Cooper Cup's out. So, like, I definitely start Tyler Higbee, but not over
Well,
Mark Andrews, and I wouldn't start him in my flex.
well, I don't know if we don't know if Mark Andrews is playing,
Higbee's
but the
still on the flex.
People Jones out there, yeah. I mean, his bench is not great. He's got a couple guys on bye. So, what about for young Andrew Atkins' team?
Atkins, I feel like Chris Olave, he definitely has a chance to get a couple more points than he has the past week or two because I think he's had two down weeks. And
Yeah,
DJ
Andy
Moore, I'm
Dalton's
really
still
not
out there.
really not expecting much out of DJ Moore. Yeah, they need to do something about Andy Dalton.
Not good. 5-5, Jake Wills hooked on a Thielen versus 7-3, Derek Titano, 34 Dayton Ducks. Look, I said something last podcast about Derek's best year, and I saw something in the group chat that Derek was like, "Oh, I finished with this many points that year." Yeah, shut the fuck up, Derek. Okay, your team always sucks to start the year, and then in the previous years we didn't do waiver priority for waivers. Like it just reset every week, so he would pick up the best people every week because he started out 0-3, and then he would work his way back to like a 500 team. Accept the fucking compliment, Derek. You've sucked in the past years. Your team actually legitimately is good this year. You're 7-3. You've probably never been that before ever. I didn't appreciate that. So shut up, Derek.
And wait, what was it? The 2011, 2012 Chargers, they had the number one ranked offense, the number one ranked defense, and they missed the playoffs.
Yeah,
So they didn't get a trophy for that.
you are Phil Rivers, Derek. Give me a give me a player or two from each side that you're looking for. Jake Wills has been on a tough stretch. I believe. I think he's been winless in the last couple of weeks, so needing to win pretty badly here.
Yeah, I'm really feeling good about Lamar against the Panthers. Feel good about Austin Eckler against the Chiefs, and really not feeling good about Justin for Derek. Not feeling good about Justin Fields. He complained about his legs being tired, so he may be on a pitch count like already this week.
Justin Fields, the quarterback, is on a pitch count. Are you saying running wise?
It running wise.
Okay. You're gonna bring the back up.
I mean, maybe.
Okay. Um, Interesting. Curtis Samuel and Josh Palmer are the wide receiver room for Derek, so needs something to go there. Next matchup, Andy Collins 3-7 versus you, Sam Smith. So I'll take this one. Both had guys go. You're projected to win by a good amount. Aaron Jones had 14, Lazard had 10, and then you had Christian Watson put up 21. I mean, you have your studs in there. I think Garrett Wilson's a big swing guy here. If Garrett Wilson can have a nice day against the Patriots, I mean, I think your studs will do their thing. Obviously, Amari Cooper as well. For Papa Kamish, it's real hit or miss. I think it's Jonathan Taylor. If the real Jonathan Taylor is going to show up like he did last week, I think he's got a chance. But if he doesn't, I think it's not going to be a good weekend for him.
Board bet Saquon 25 points.
Okay. Well, we got that board bet. Put it on the board. All right. 3-7. Spano, Hot Bush versus the dynamic duo of Patrick Campbell. That's right. I called him by his real name. And Samuel James. Soup and Sammy's, they're 4-6. Projected to win is Soup and Sammy's just by a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little like that because Spano's starting a tight end that's on bye, so we'll see if he makes a move there. But what do you think, real quick?
Soup's been on a roll like the past several weeks. He's been scoring like 140 points consistently, so I'm kind of having him in this matchup.
And then let's go into our last game. It's normal host, co-host Joe Briner, 7-3, taking on Diego Grijalva, 5-5. Big swing right now in projection for Joe, and he doesn't even have a tight end right now currently, and he's projected to win by I think 20 points. Yeah, never a good sign when you're starting two Houston Texans and Samaje Perine plus Taylor Heineke. This lineup sucks. I mean, this lineup was being carried for Diego by Cooper Kupp, who's now out. Travis Etienne, who's the other guy, is on bye, and his best defender, the first one of 5 that was drafted, is on bye. Whoo-wee. Real quick, tell me what you see in this matchup because this is a tough one to look at.
I mean, it looks like Joey's starting, probably going to be starting Foster Moreau, who he's projected 7.7. But yeah, I think Diego's team hurt Cooper Kupp, making him carry the whole team.
Yeah, it was too much to carry on his back. So that was a fantasy preview for this weekend. We're going to hit a quick break and then we'll come back and do the Sunday preview.